Good evening. Welcome to the Sulk stream. I'm your host, the Incredible Sulk, and I hope you guys are doing well. Doing fantastic, doing strong. Gaining strength, fighting a good fight, and being excellent cult members. Welcome. Tonight we're going to be talking about the California wildfires. And as a native of California, no longer, I have some experience. Both setting and watching California wildfires. It'll be interesting. I've never set one that went out of control. Don't come looking for me, okay? Do not come looking for me. Jokes is jokes, okay? It is terrible what is going on over there. People are losing their houses, and it is 100% unequivocally California's fault. And I'm pretty sure it was on purpose. But here we are. We're a conspiracy channel, so that's what we're going to look into. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Yeah. So, California is on fire. We have our bubble water and other accoutrements. I think we can get started. What else do we need? Oh, yeah. Liquor. Or if you don't drink liquor, get whatever you want. Get a bottle of wine. Get a bottle of port. Drink water. I'm a big fan of water. I don't even drink alcohol. I do, but not like regularly. Anyways, guys, get comfy. Get cozy. Sit next to a fire that isn't raging out of control. I can't stress that point enough. Fire safety is important. Is number one. So, get ready for that. If you're working, keep working. If you're fighting fires, just go ahead and keep doing that. Grab a hose and just get at it. Right? A lot of times they just dig and stuff and like try to contain, but this fire is 0% contained. And that's not great. That's not great. What else? Oh yeah. If you're driving, keep driving. If you're working, keep working. Anyways, guys, I have no reason to stall this any longer. So, thank you so much for coming. I'm the Incredible Sulk. This is the Sulk stream. And this is called The West is Burning. Enjoy. Gotta fade in. We're gonna fade in. Look at me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes. Wildfires are predicted to double in scope in the next 30 years. And that's
my neighbor knocked
crazy.
On my door very aggressively and said, "Shirley, get out here."
We have Scott
and,
is first.
I said, "What's going on?"
Background
Karen?
noise.
She said,
Arden Shire.
"Santa
Obedient.
Rosa is
Randy
burning
Crush.
down."
Onias, what's up, boys? Hit the like button. Let's just start that off right now. Hit the like button. This is not
I
current, but
believe
this
what
is
I
pretty
was
much what it
seeing.
looks like.
We got into the helicopter and the winds were blowing 40 to 50 miles an hour. There was smoke and fire everywhere. All I could do was look and say to Mike Thompson, our congressman, who had been
Background
in
noise
Vietnam,
says, has LA tried not being on fire? No.
it looks like a war went on down there. It looks like a
Dude, the fires in California, like, okay, I live in Florida now, and the hurricanes they suck, right? Hurricanes, I was excited to see a hurricane when I first moved here, and then, I got hit with some bad ones in the few years that I've been here, and I would take that any day over one of these wildfires. It's bad. It'll level your house. It'll take everything you value, your dogs, your family photos, your wedding album, anything that you cannot replace, it will be destroyed in the fire, and the fire does not give a shit. And neither does the insurance company, right? A lot of times they're going to pay up, pay what they pay, but they're insurance. So they're going to try to wiggle out of it as much as possible. And they do screw people across the board. So, you've been paying insurance for, years, sometimes decades on your house, on your property and stuff like that. And then it burns down. You go to the insurance company and they're all like, well, fuck off. That's got to hurt. And then you have to start life over.
Bomb. And
Over. You can't salvage anything. There's nothing that hasn't been burned. Even like plates and cookie sheets and stuff like that are melted. The type of fires that go on over there cause tornadoes. They cause hurricanes of themselves. The wind speeds are so high because it's sucking in all the oxygen from around. It's a firestorm. That's what happens when they get very powerful. They become firestorms, and they spread faster than most people can run. Faster than anybody can run, in fact. They spread quickly.
Me and saying, yeah, that's what it looks like, but it's actually worse.
Evening, Ric Flair.
Talk about still. Those first few
It does
days
seem like
were
a them
so
problem.
hard.
It's not a them problem. It's not a California. It's not the Californians. It's not the land of California that is the problem. It is the government, and that's it. That's the whole thing. And I'm pretty sure most of these fires are set intentionally, if not by immigrants, then by some sort of intelligence agency. I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but a lot of times these fires start in multiple locations, and that's why they can't really pinpoint like where it started, because it'll start across the city all at once for some reason. Whether that be space lasers or some sort of coordinated attack or something like that, it really doesn't matter. It's the weakness of California, right? They spend so much on security, patting your balls at TSA and stuff like that, and irradiating you to make sure you don't have like a pair of nail clippers when you get onto a plane. But some guy, who walks across the border in Mexico into Los Angeles and just tosses a match into a pile of dried timber or something like that can be much more effective than some dickhead in a plane. Much more. And especially if you have a small team of people that go around lighting fires, there's no way that California has the infrastructure or the budget to keep up. Everything's going to Ukraine. Biden approved another $500 million to go to Ukraine today. Today, as the state is burning, as Santa Monica is being evacuated. 15,000 people have been evacuated from Santa Monica. From Santa Monica. That's a rich area.
Sleep much. We worked all the time.
If it's burning Santa Monica, it's burning the poor areas really bad.
The night of October 8th, we had a windstorm, and that windstorm...
Randa Crash Saga says the media mocked Trump for talking about taking the forest, but that's a real thing. Yeah, they're going to talk about prescribed burns in this and how it has been illegal in California for like 30 years or something like that. A ridiculous amount of time. And forest fires are a natural occurrence, especially in California. They refresh the ground layer and stuff like that. But if every fire that breaks out, say from lightning or something, gets put out by the Forest Service, then all that dead brush, all the fallen trees and stuff like that, they just accumulate over years and years and years, and it's a big pile of tinder, especially in the drier months, especially after droughts and stuff like that. You can't stop fires.
Led to 17 different fire starts across this landscape all around Santa Rosa. Those 17 fires sort of rushed into each other and became two main large fire events. Stoplights were out, the power was out, people did not know which direction to go. It was really chaotic.
There are close to about 20 fires that are scorching hundreds of thousands.
Thousands of firefighters have been unable to...
Rainy Crest Saga says, then there's the conspiracy part of my brain that has noticed that the UN Agenda 2030 calls for that area to be cleared out. What a coincidence. Coincidences aren't real. I mean, coincidences are something that we tell ourselves to think that things aren't connected. It's a way of comforting, of coping. But as I've gotten older, they seem impossible. Not just like unlikely coincidences, right? Not just like, oh, coincidences happen. No, they don't. They want you to think they happen. They kind of don't. You bumping into somebody you know at the grocery store is a coincidence, okay? It being on the UN's agenda to clear out and then a gigantic fire rips across the city and no one has any water and no one has any budget to go put it out and no one's really putting an effort that's not a coincidence, right? Maybe coincidences do happen, but not like this. Not like this.
8 counties, and hundreds more people are missing.
He had traveled 16 miles in an instant, it seemed like. It just came roaring over the hills.
I've seen a lot
16 miles in an instant is like not even a joke, right? I mean, some of these travel 30 or 40 miles an hour. Some of the fire spreads at 30 or 40 miles an hour, right? It is exploding. It explodes through the forest. It runs through neighborhoods. And you wouldn't even believe it because one day you're sitting in your backyard. Like 1 minute you're sitting in your backyard, chilling out. You see a smoke in the distance. You're like, there's a fire. And then you're on fire. It's like a bomb. It is like a bomb. And you can't run from it. You're just not fast enough. That's why they have to evacuate you before it gets to you. Because even the faster people can't outrun it.
forest fires, but I had never seen anything like this before. It was otherworldly.
The wildfire issue.
Background noise says the Bureau of Land Management, not Black Lives Matter, did a prescribed burn here last summer on a day the locals said it was too dangerous, and now people can't get their FEMA checks to live. Wow. Well, that should be on BLM, shouldn't it? Right? That should be on BLM. I mean, FEMA is tapped, by the way. I mean, there's still people from that hurricane that hit North Carolina. There's still people buried, right? There's still people that have been buried by that in landslides and people not found and people living homeless out of backpacks and stuff like still, right? FEMA ain't got shit for you, California, but it does have $500 million for Ukraine. Here you go, right? We've already given them, what, $80 billion? 500 more today? $500 million more today? What is that? That's nothing. Biden's almost out of here. He's got to get his 10%. He's got to get his taste, right? He's got to wet his beak. That's Biden. He's got to do everything. I hear he's trying to ban cigarettes now. You have a week left. A week, maybe a little bit more than a week left as president. And you're just throwing shit at the wall. Another $500 million for Ukraine. I think they're okay. First of all, fuck Ukraine. I don't give two shits about Ukraine. I don't care much for California, but at least it's in America, right? At least we own that land. We don't own Ukraine. Every dollar that goes to Ukraine benefits us in absolutely no way. No way whatsoever does giving Ukraine billions and billions of dollars benefit us. You know, these people here, most of them did not vote for the government in California, right? This is not burning the downtown metropolises. This is burning neighborhoods and stuff like that. So, but they're screwed. They're screwed. They're probably going to get boned by insurance. FEMA is not going to do shit for them. FEMA will not do a thing for them. And there's just going to be refugees, right? Refugees. American refugees. Where are they going to go? Mexico? Are they going to go to, the middle of Africa? The Middle East or something like that? No, they have nowhere to go. Hold on, I have a cat again.
Intense in the United States, and it's gotten so much worse over the last 10 and 15 years. It's startling.
We've had years and years of drought here in California, and there's no doubt it's gotten hotter and windier, and those conditions are ripe for wildfires, which now turn into urban fires, it turns out.
There are more people in harm's way, and the harm is getting worse. So I think people are starting to realize that we have a crisis on our hands.
I think it could very likely.
Arden Shara says the FEMA is a government control program initiated by the Club of Rome. Maybe. That's the first I'm hearing of it, but I wouldn't doubt it.
Happen again here.
I hear he's doing something
That's part
weird.
of the sadness of all of this, is that we all want to rebuild and recover, and yet we still live with these tremendous risks.
Onia says FEMA's not going to do anything. Not going to do nothing. They're going to be busy stopping people from helping their neighbors. Yeah, so in North Carolina, after Dorian? No. What was that? I forget the name of the hurricane that absolutely pummeled North Carolina, destroyed it to a point where it's like, that's not real. There's no way a hurricane did that. Well, probably not a natural hurricane. They can control weather. Is that a conspiracy? I mean, I know it is a conspiracy, right? But is that a theory? It seems like it's damn near fact at this point, where they can manipulate the weather fairly easily, and causing a drought and drying out Southern California, all of California is not hard for them to do. So yeah, there's people in North Carolina. This is happening all over the country. It hit Florida terribly, and people in Tampa are still recovering from that hurricane. And shit just happens to be happening like this all over the country in this opportune time. Is that another coincidence? I don't think it's another coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence. It's not a coincidence. We're under attack, very clearly, but not so much physically, although yes, physically, but financially and spiritually and emotionally. This is emotionally draining on the American people. And that's just modern warfare for you, right? It's not about guns and tanks and bullets and gases and stuff like that. It's about attrition. It's about making it impossible to afford a home. It's about driving up your grocery prices until you just want to put a gun in your mouth and give up. War has gotten much dirtier, where they use mosquitoes against people, where they use vaccines against people. It's not war. It's hell. I don't know how to describe it. A genocide, perhaps? I wouldn't call it war. War is where two parties understand that they are fighting each other, and that's not what's going on right now. It's the prevailing idea is that we're at peace and nothing bad is happening to the American population at large, but that is far from the truth. Why do you think everyone is so damn fat? Just because? No, everyone is getting poisoned and has been getting poisoned for years. These are just symptoms of what's happening. Symptoms. cloud seeding is definitely shit they do. They admit it. Yeah, cloud seeding has been around since the early 50s at the least, and probably much earlier than that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like heating up the Atlantic a fraction of a degree to aim a hurricane and intensify a hurricane to hit a certain city, right? That is what I'm talking about. They have these large nuclear-powered ships that just gently heat the ocean. And what a hurricane does is it's supposed to draw energy from the ocean as the planet cools down, right? And that's why it happens every year around the fall. So if you heat those oceans up, even just a little bit, artificially, you can make artificially engineered hurricanes, and you can steer them with pretty good accuracy too. The Hurricane Dorian, it was a Category 5 hurricane back in 2019, I believe. We thought it was going to hit Orlando, and people were freaking out. I remember people running around, going to the Home Depot, putting plywood on their windows and stuff like that, getting gas cans, water, anything. And then as it approached, it just stopped right over the Bahamas. Hurricanes don't stop. They don't stop. They don't stop like that. It stopped right over the Bahamas and just sat there until it died out. And it destroyed the Bahamas. It destroyed them. I think that was probably more of a test than any sort of an attack. But there's no way that was real. There's no way that was legit. I don't think so. Hey, Forest Mommy. Randy Crush says it's warfare without war declared. Yeah, exactly. Working to restore natural fire. Okay, so she works for the fire.
These wildfires are
department.
Increasingly becoming an urban phenomenon. I mean, this, to me, you couldn't
Forest Mommy says, how's Jess's hot dad doing? Well, he's still surfing every day.
Illustrate it
for like the last 50
we're not
years.
Up in the
so
hills, you know, we're in downtown
good.
Santa Rosa.
He's a good surfer too.
The fire
He's a cool guy.
blew into Santa Rosa in the early morning hours. I think it was about 4 a.m. I know people in this neighborhood who got the warning, looked out, saw a wall of flame, got in their car, escaped, and 4 minutes later their house was on fire. So that's how rapidly the fire moved through here.
Yup.
We've increasingly encroached our communities into these landscapes where we have removed fire and grazing from a lot of the landscape. And so the shrub layer has built up, the grasses have built up, and now when fire does come, it's a conflagration.
See, look at this. This is California. When it late summertime, this is California. It's very golden. All the grass is this golden color, but it's dry. Dry as a bone. A single spark will set this entire place on fire. And they should do prescribed burns, but for some reason, they said that was bad for the environment. Well, so is cities burning down. That's also bad for the environment. So is not building extra aquifers. Not since, what was it, 79? You haven't built any extra aquifers since 1979 with an exploding population. And then they turn on the fire hydrants and it's nothing but dust coming out.
We've been suppressing fire here for so long that you could live here for an entire generation and have never seen an event like happened last year. So it's in that beginning stages of a learning curve culturally here. My biggest struggle is helping people understand that landscapes have always been actively managed by indigenous people, and that we have a need to steward.
Forest Money says they have fucked up prescribed burns here too, so I don't know that I can trust them with that either. Well, I mean, when you do a prescribed burn, you burn a patch of land on purpose, so should there be a wildfire later on, it won't be as intense in that area. They work in Florida, but the thing about Florida is Florida gets more lightning strikes than any state in the U.S. And so if it's gonna burn, it's gonna burn naturally. So doing prescribed burns in Florida is not risky. Again, and everything's wet. It rains every day. So I'm not even sure they really need to do prescribed burns here, but they do them anyway. No one's got a problem with them. There's not huge wildfires ripping through Florida. It's not something that we deal with here, but we do deal with hurricanes. But you can see those coming. You got a week to prepare, which I would prefer over a wildfire any day, because in an instant, everything you've collected in your entire life can be gone. Gone. You get a text or a phone call, right? I've been evacuated before, right? There was a big fire where I used to live, and I've been evacuated. And when they evacuate you, your phone rings off the hook to get you out. And then the police come around and then start dragging people out. They don't drag people out, but they're like, you better go or you're going to die. And then everyone gets in their car and drives off to wherever they happen to be going. It's a nightmare. That's just it. Like, you get the evacuation warning and you have maybe 15 minutes to get everything you value, get into your car and leave. And then everything you leave behind is gone. Gone. No, it's not something like, oh, I forgot. No, it's gone. It's, you have a fireproof safe, that shit is gone, right? You don't just have things that burn down. You have looters. If shit's going off like that, you have looters. Everyone's out of their house. Everything's evacuated. Nobody locks their doors. So people go in and steal as much as it becomes mayhem immediately.
Our parks and open spaces, and that will make them safer, and it will also restore habitats both for wildlife and for our forests. We need to be burning, we need to be thinning, and that's a...
Forest Money says people need to mitigate their own land better too, and Colorado should be doing smart lodging. Yeah, okay, so when you're surrounded by woods or forests or something like that, and you're at threat of a fire, you should have an adequate roof, because most house fires start from the roof. There's like an ember that falls onto the roof if there's a wildfire around. So you should have a metal roof. You should have, what is it called? Like an abatement, like a buffer zone around your house that should be as far as you can get it, right? As far as you can get it. But 100 feet would be minimum. I really don't know. It depends on your situation. But for people in neighborhoods and stuff that live this close, right? You know those little suburbs, and there's like a house and then a house and then a house. There's nothing they can do. They can't move their neighbors further away from them. If a fire comes, it's going to rip through there, like rip through there. And the heat that comes off of these firestorms is, I mean, it's like a nuclear bomb. It's intense. Things burst into flames from not being on fire to being completely in flames.
Big lift. A lot of people have deep skepticism about that. Fire is only one tool in the box, right? So one thing...
Onia says it's bullshit. They force people to use less water rather than build a new fucking desalination plant. Desalinization plant. So desal plants take too much energy. And they refuse to build no nuclear power plants. So desal plants aren't going to work. They could work if you built nuclear power plants, but no, everyone wants to run on wind and fucking like solar, which do nothing except for raise the chances of a forest fire. Have you guys ever seen a wind turbine burst into flames? Because it's a violent fire. The same with solar panels, right? There's sparks, there's electricity, they're spread out over vast fields and stuff. One spark from those can start a fire, and then it just spreads. The winds in California come off the Pacific Ocean, and they're constant, right? Sometimes they're not that strong, but sometimes they are pretty strong. They're constantly blowing over the Sierra Nevadas, right? That's why we get so much snow up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. That's why we get snowpack. That's why we get trillions of gallons of fresh water in California. If only they were to capture it somehow. If they had that technology to build some sort of, I don't know, dam. Oh, but wait, all the hippies get their shit all bunched up when you build a dam because it's bad for the fish or something. Whatever. What is there? 50 million people in California? Not that many, but there's a lot. 30 or 40, I think. They stopped building reservoirs in 1979. There's no wonder there's a water shortage every single year. The population has doubled since then, at least, right? And that's just the registered population. That's not even counting all the immigrants who are probably setting a lot of these fires.
Doing is trying to ramp up our sheep and goat grazing program, really get those
Hit the
critters
like.
out there browsing down the shrub layer.
Set that like on
Second
fire.
tool is mechanical treatment, so going
Or
in there
something.
and cutting. But by far, the cheapest tool in the box is prescribed fire. So to the degree to which we as land managers can get the public comfortable with prescribed fire, we'll be able to do a lot more acres for a lot fewer dollars.
Randy Crush Saga says solar does something. They cause rolling blackouts. So, yeah, California had a thing. I remember living through rolling blackouts. I remember that was a thing. That was not so much an amount of power issue. That was more of a corruption issue. They were getting a lot of money to do stuff that they weren't doing. And yeah, it caused a lot of rolling blackouts. And, but yeah, now they're not building the power stations that they need. They should just go nuclear. They should just go nuclear and build a bunch of nuclear power plants. Florida has a bunch of them. That's how we do it here in Florida. We don't have dams for hydroelectric, and we could burn coal and stuff, but we have plenty of nuclear power plants, and electricity is not that bad in Florida. Water costs a lot more because, again, we don't have dams where we can just collect fresh water, but we are on a pretty big aquifer, so we could just dig down and then we get it. So it's not that much of an issue. But we don't have fires. But we don't have fires here.
And that's kind of the goal.
Nice to see you.
Right, this is my daughter, Kira.
Nice to meet you. Come on in.
This is beautiful. Thank you so much. And Marty
Roberts.
Good to meet you. My goal tonight is to make sure that if you have any questions or you feel like you're going to get tough questions,
Onia says there are 2 industrial scale desalination plants. One is affordable, the other is retarded. I don't know what either type is. I know desal plants are extremely energy intensive, to the point where it doesn't make sense on scale to use them because they just can't. It's not a fair trade for the amount of energy they're putting in. However, if they were to build multiple nuclear power plants, it wouldn't be an issue. And nuclear power is safe, and it's cheap, and it's effective. And we have the technology where it doesn't become an issue, right? The last issue that happened was in Fukushima after a freak earthquake and tsunami. But even then, that wasn't that big of an issue. It didn't clear out. There is a small exclusion zone. I think there is a small exclusion zone. But it's not that bad. There's better technology. Right? We have robots to do everything. It's not the 80s, right? It's not like Chernobyl back in 86, I think. Everyone points to that and be like, well, it's clearly dangerous and you can't do it. Yeah, we can do it. It's not that hard. It's a technology that's been around for decades. And it's been perfected to the point where it would be no issue. We can build nuclear power plants on submarines, on aircraft carriers, on spaceships. And we do regularly. But people get all butthurt when you want to build one near a city. Why? Because they don't understand and they're afraid.
I can help you answer them, right? So basically the ballot measure is roughly carved into 3 buckets. Safety, access, and then the third is my favorite because natural resources, so protecting the environment. And For everyone in this room, what I want you to understand is that this is a game changer for us. If we get this ballot measure, this little thing that I still...
Forest Mommy says, Forest house, we have defensible space and roof sprinklers. That's smart. One day it will happen. We've just been lucky. Yeah, so roof sprinklers are, I mean, that'll help. That'll help a lot, right? Most of the, if your house is in a forest fire and you are at a defensible distance from the forest line, your most likely attack is going to be coming from the air, right? A coal will land on your roof or something like that, and that's how your house catches fire. A lot of people build metal roofs. A lot of people do roof sprinklers. There's ways of defending your property. One guy, his house was in a forest fire, and he refused to evacuate. And he didn't quite understand the magnitude that a forest fire is, right? They're not like a campfire. It's like a tornado. It's being in a tornado that is on fire as well. And his family evacuated. He stayed behind with a garden hose to see if he could save the house. He could not save the house. And so what he did was he hid inside of his septic tank for several hours as his house burned down. He lived, but he had to sit in his own poop for several hours. Well, at least he lived. But he had to sit in his own poop for several. I don't know if that's better. I don't know if that's better.
Division at Sonoma County Regional Parks, which is mighty but small, will really be real. I mean, we will have the funds to do. A lot of what I do is looking at these landscapes and trying to figure out how do we restore the natural process. Let's make sure that we get prescribed fire back in our toolbox in this part of the world, which is my goal, because that actually draws down the fuel loads and helps protect our neighboring
You could
towns
say
and
he had a
communities.
shitty time. You're right, Aeneas. It was a shitty time. I mean, could you imagine just sitting in your septic tank as like there's a raging fire? It's like 1,000 degrees outside, right? And you're just sitting in poop, all right? This was your decision. You're sitting in poop. You could have been left. You could have left with your family, and you'd been fine. And you still would have lost your house, but now you're just sitting in poop. Like chest deep, right? And the air, it has to be foul. It has to be bad.
By the time I was 8 years old, I discovered that, in fact, there was a profession called forestry.
Beautiful.
And they paid people to actually go out and spend time in the woods. And I decided right then that's what I wanted to do, and that I wanted to work for the Forest Service. The mindset of the forester in mid-20th century was very much that forests were a collection of trees that you managed to produce wood. In the post-World War II era, there was tremendous pressure on the Forest Service to increase the timber harvest on...
Background noise says, ever see the one where the farmer cut a fire break across his neighbor's field to save what was left of his crop? Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah. But if FEMA catches you doing that, you're going to get a fine like nothing else. They're going to say you're interfering with rescue operations or something like that and put you in jail. But in actuality, FEMA isn't doing anything. When, God, what was the Hurricane Irene, perhaps? I don't know. That went through North Carolina. There was a guy who owned a helicopter that was using his own fuel to fly into the disaster zone to pick up people to evacuate them. FEMA shut him down because they said he was interfering with the rescue operation. There was no rescue operation. FEMA was doing nothing. They were actively shutting down people from helping. They were stopping people from delivering food. There was a video of it was a Huey or something like that. It was a helicopter, and it flew over. These people were dispensing food to refugees, right? And it flew over and used the rotor wash to knock over everything they had and everything, and then they just pieced out. Pieced out. Does FEMA give a shit about people? No, absolutely not. It's just another corrupt government agency that people use to filter money out of the government, out of the U.S. people, right? Because the government doesn't have any money.
Federal lands in order to provide the wood that was needed to build all the homes for the veterans that were coming back and starting their lives over again. And the agency sort of went over to the dark side. And through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, the timber harvest just continued to go up. Yeah, I'm a history buff, and certainly World War II history because I was a kid growing up right in the middle of it. So, anyway. Up until the 70s and 80s, science had all been oriented towards how do we manage forest lands to produce trees as a crop. And nobody had done any significant research at all on what was the nature.
That's a nice area.
Nature of these forest ecosystems. So all of the pre-World War II period was devoted very much to creating a Forest Service that could detect and suppress fire.
I mean, they looked at it as war.
The mistake was made, which was to assume all.
I mean, isn't the fire department like part of the military in some weird, strange way? I know the Postal Service is part of the military in some strange way. I think the military and the fire department and the police department are as well, but in different ways. I don't know. I'm not involved with any of those agencies. So, but I know they have like generals and chiefs and stuff. So they look at it as a war, and you don't let the enemy win some battles in a war. But when you're fighting fires, when your job is to fight fires, it's a good idea to let the fire burn some areas out so it doesn't become more intense later on, because eventually it will burn. They will all burn. They will all burn. Yeah. But they get paid to put out fires. That's the thing. This is these people's jobs, right? They're not going to not do their jobs and then not get paid. So they see a fire and they're going to put it out. That's it. That's what they're going to do.
All fire was bad, and all fire should be put out. It was particularly effective.
Did the shirt come through? Did you send it to my email? Where did you send it? I didn't see anything on X. Where did you send it? Also, we're watching The West is Burning. We're talking about California wildfires, which I am familiar with.
Areas that had historically had a lot of
to a degree
fire, frequent fire. They had
hundreds of degrees, in fact.
Levels of
oh, where's my rim shot?
Fuels.
I don't have a rim
had
shot.
Forest structures.
I'll give myself.
Very resistant to
hold
fire.
on. I'll give myself the bell because I don't. No one's donated yet, so I'll give myself the bell. Maybe it'll prime the pump.
In order to
so to
maintain those kinds of conditions, fire needed to be allowed to continue, and we didn't allow that.
Did not allow that. You used to see these planes flying over. And like now that I think about it, I have been in proximity in like a lot of wildfires because I grew up my entire life in California. I've seen a lot of wildfires that have, you know, certain days you walk outside and then the air is thick with smoke, not smog, but smoke from a wildfire that might be not too far away. It'll make the sun red. It's weird. It's apocalyptic, and it happens pretty often. Not every year, but
the fuels begin to accumulate.
Or at least not when I was a kid, but recently It was happening really often.
Accumulate. The structure of the forest changed. Fuel-filled forests would now be consumed by the fire.
Oh, you sent it to Couch? I'll ask her. She didn't tell me, but I'll ask her. Did you send it to her ex account? What did you send it to her? And what do you guys I don't know.
Historically, in these fire-frequent landscapes, the fires were often very large, but they weren't intense. Our problem today is that we have large, intense fires. In the Intermountain West and the Sierra Nevada, we're talking about millions of acres that need treatment.
Here, that's my email for this show specific. That's not like my personal email, but it's an email. So if you guys want to send me stuff regarding this show or whatnot, send it to that Gmail account. The Incredible Sulk TV at gmail.com. There. But also, there's a million other ways to contact me. So, email is not the idea. If you want to talk to me, just hit me on X. Email, I'm not going to check my email unless somebody tells me.
Now, at the same time, there were other forests like our Douglas fir hemlock.
Thought says no email. Oh well, and I hope I did. That's why I asked. Yeah, okay. So you don't email. That's fine. I just send it somehow.
Forests on the west side of the Cascades, that the fire suppression policy.
Do not send. If you send me dick pics into that email, I'm gonna be mad, dude. You're gonna get. Don't do that.
Policy didn't change their fundamental nature.
You don't do that.
That
all right?
Didn't burn frequently.
California is beautiful. This looks like up in the redwoods, like the sequoias and stuff like that. Humboldt County or something. It's beautiful, and it's a shame that it's so politically destructive and divisive, honestly, right? People think California is strictly blue, and that's not true. California is deeply red, except for Sacramento, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. And those three cities they make the decisions. Those three cities make the decisions for the entire state of California. A lot of people in the red areas do not consider themselves Californians as people in San Francisco. It's totally different. They're completely different people.
These are the
Rick, if you send me a fucking dick pic, I swear I'm gonna block you.
Pacific Northwest.
I swear I'm gonna block you, bro.
High productivity, lots of down wood.
Critical Thought says no. I only email. I need punctuation. Well, send it to my email or Jess. Did you get an email from Thought? I'm asking because she sent a T-shirt design.
And of course, all of this organic material represents fuels. They have a very different kind of relationship with fire than the forests that are in the dry part of the country, the frequent fire forests. The appropriate strategy for a forest like this is to, in fact, be very aggressive about detecting and suppressing fires so that fire doesn't get into this sort of a forest. And the neat thing about that is suppressing fire in this forest.
Dude, I love this guy. I love his Forester green jacket and his hat and his walking cane. And, you know, he just spends his peaceful afternoons walking around the forest doing nothing much except for observing. You know, he'll take a dump out there once in a while. He don't wipe, though, because he doesn't want to leave the toilet paper behind. He does no wipers in the forest. And it makes him feel connected, right? He goes skinny dipping in the stream afterwards and stuff. And, you know, people see him, but he doesn't mind because he's like 60 something. So, whatever. What are you going to do? Just another California weirdo out in the forest. The thing about walking around in the forest in California is I would be extremely careful, because if you happen to stumble on to a weed farm, which is likely, you will get murdered. Yeah, you're going to get murdered. And they're everywhere. Some of them are pretty professional and they have like fences and stuff in greenhouses and operations like that. You won't be able to stumble into those. But you will stumble on some like MS-13 members out in the middle of the woods that are camping, and they just happen to have a crop out there, and if they see, they're going to kill you. They're going to fucking kill you. They don't give a shit, right? They throw their batteries into the creek and stuff. Like car batteries into the creek. They just leave, they leave trash everywhere. It's a real nuisance. It's a real nuisance. But it's free money, essentially. Growing weed in California, and then you just need a couple of guys just to sit there and guard it from like deer and stuff, because the deer will eat it. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Isn't going to make it unnatural. These forests are used to going for hundreds of years without fire. This one is doing things on a scale that defy
I like this guy's
ability
passion. I really do.
to modify greatly. We need to understand and respect these environments.
Thought says, I had an 11-year-old girl today tell me when I asked if she ever had thoughts of suicide. Say no. Say no. She said no. But sometimes I think about just disappearing and living in the woods, right? Sometimes I think about just going off from this, I imagine, elementary school and just living in the woods. That is a jaded 11-year-old, right? And why are you asking an 11-year-old if she has thoughts of suicide? I mean, it's an important question, don't get me wrong. It's just like most people would assume an 11-year-old doesn't have thoughts of suicide unless there's something very deeply broken about that 11-year-old. But in California, I definitely have seen that, because everyone's broken in California. That's their job, motherfucker. That's their business, right? Especially in the public education system. They break you mentally, so you have to be addicted to some sort of pharmaceutical by the time you turn 18, right? That's how they get you. They also have other ways of getting you.
I was born in
Hit the
Oregon,
like button.
Studied forestry at Berkeley.
I'm going to say that a
and
lot.
I
Hit the like
was
button.
Planning on a career
Set it
working for
ablaze.
the Forest Service as a silviculturist, and unfortunately, the year that I graduated was a year that the
Thought says, nah, she was super mature. So mature that she wanted to off herself. That's how mature. So, like, okay, that makes sense. When growing up as a child these days, you're mature if you're considering self-deletion. I think I'm on YouTube. I think they haven't kicked me off yet. Idiots. That is a mature 11-year-old, right? Most people don't start thinking about that until they reach at least 16. But an 11-year-old, especially girls don't do that. Girls rarely, if ever, go and complete the S word, right? A lot of times they'll do the wrist cutty thing, but they'll go across the valley and not down the river. You know what I mean? Across the valley for attention, down the river for results. Keep that in mind. I'm not giving tips out, but, you know, you don't want to sit there and be like, why isn't this working? I just look like an idiot. No. You have to open it. And don't do it. And men don't do it like that. Men don't, because that's the gayest way to go, right? What are you going to do? Sit in a bathtub and light some candles and listen to some soothing music with a fucking incense going and shit like that. And you're like, F slur. F slur. No. You put a 44 in your mouth and you paint the ceiling like a man. You find the highest thing you can, you swan dive off of that bad boy. That's even a little bit dramatic, right? But if you're not allowed a gun, you're not allowed a gun. So find something tall and jump. But yep, kissing a 45 is probably the best way. But I've seen people screw that up. Yeah. That's really, if you feel like a loser to the point where you want to off yourself, and then you fail at that, how do you feel about yourself now with half a face, right? And you're like, I'm just happy to be alive. Are you? Are you? Because you used to look a lot better, right? Now it's all fucked up. Now you got to live with that, right? I heard a story of a guy put one to his temple and blinded himself. And that was it. Just scooped his eyes out. Just scooped his eyes out. And he was just like, all right. Well, that didn't work. And his ears are ringing too because a gun just went off next to his head. So you got to feel pretty stupid. You really got to feel pretty stupid.
The bottom fell out of the timber market, and feel very fortunate that I landed my current job with the Wilderness Society. And that was 26 and a half years ago. So. There was an erosion of trust in the agency's commitment.
Thought says she goes to a Christian school based. Her favorite class is Bible class based. Her dad is anti-vax based. I think she just watches the same YouTube wilderness builds I do. What? So you building things like building survival shelters out in the wilderness. Everybody watches those. If you don't watch those, fuck you. You're lying. You do watch those. And if you don't, if you honestly don't, what are you doing with your life? Go and watch some of those. Some of them are fascinating. And like they build legit little structures where they look cozy and stuff and be like, oh, I would retire there. But the government won't let you retire in the woods. They won't. If they find you, they're going to burn your hollowed out tree down and, put you in put you nowhere. Put you nowhere. They're going to drag you back to Skid Row and throw you on the street and be like, this is where you're more comfortable. Amongst civilization where people are shooting up and dying everywhere. No, put me in the concentration camps, right? Fuck this. I don't want to be in like the place where people are like hanging sideways like that because they're so doped out. They can't even fucking remember to breathe. Just put me in a concentration camp. All right, I'll make the best of it. Right? There's ovens and stuff. I don't, I'll make a pizza. I don't know. I don't know what they did in concentration camps. I didn't think people had ADD back then, but I could be wrong.
To non-timber resources.
Jokes.
Policies.
Holocaust
the Forest
jokes.
Service rewarded timber management above all other resources on the National Forest. And through the 60s and 70s was leading to the intentional elimination of old growth, which was considered to be slow growing and not an
Thought says he thought scooping his eyes out would kill him. No, he thought putting a gun to his temple would kill him, which I could understand, right? If you didn't know much about anatomy, I mean, you should know where your brain is, though, right? So there is an upside down pear in the back of your head, and you have to hit that pear, and then that will disconnect your brain from your spinal cord, and that'll cease your vital functions. That's what you have to hit. Not that I've looked it up. I just happen to know a whole lot about it. But he put a gun to his temple, right? And he was all like, goodbye, cruel world. And it just... went through both of his eyes. It just went, sailed right through both of his eyes. And that's you're stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. Even if you were to move it back to like even above the ear, you might not even have that great of a shot at doing it. But no, there's a reason why people put the gun in their mouth, right? And not up because it's gonna blow out the front. Okay, you got to put it back. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna show you. Yeah, here, right? Or else it's not gonna do anything. I'm sure somebody's gonna screenshot that.
An ideal resource for forestry, and foresters had been so successful at that,
Somebody's
that
gonna screenshot
there was
that.
very little old growth left. Wow. You just don't see this kind of board anymore. This is a coast redwood board cut from a single tree in 1940.
Background noise says they hit the apricot and they won't even twitch. It's a pear. It's an upside down pear at the back of your head. It's right. I don't know why you would call it an apricot. That's stupid background noise.
How about this place hasn't changed in 50 years?
Randy says you sure can get that gun deep in your mouth. Hell yeah, brother.
Amazing.
Yeah. What? You're retarded.
My name's Susan Jane Brown.
Background noise also says, not how I was taught. Okay. You were taught, how were you taught to insert things? Okay. Insert things into your mouth.
I'm an attorney and Wildlands Program Director for the Western Environmental Law Center.
I'm sorry. You saw the hangy downy thing back there.
I got involved in forest environmental issues when I came to Oregon in 1997.
Oh, this is one of those.
Law school and wanted to practice.
Is this one of those? What are those Dutch walls that hold back large amounts of water? Is she one of those?
I had never seen old growth forests before. You hear people talk about how there are these cathedral forests, and it definitely feels that way. It's good to be home.
Oh, Jess is on this. Okay, this is her new shower thought. Okay. Couch Turfing says, oh my God, hey, have y'all ever thought about the first person who decided to put a penis in their mouth? Like, what the fuck were you thinking? Also, probably a male. She said the exact same thing to me the other night. I'm all like, I want to go to sleep now. Okay. I want to hear your tight five. All right. She has my penis in her hand. And she's like, is this thing on? That's it. I'm like, this is not comedy, Jess. You have a job to do.
By a place like that.
Yeah. That's the relationship. We met. We were stand-up comedians when we met. We met at an open mic. All right. So obviously our entire relationship, our entire marriage has been insanely cringy.
Northwest, there's a lot of old growth logging.
It's just how it's going to be.
Depending on who you talk to, between 2 and 5% of those native forests are still left. They need all the help that we can give them.
Critical Thought says it was probably someone starving who saw stuff coming out and thought, maybe it's like titty milk. Maybe it's like titty milk. I mean, if you're starving, I would go for titty milk, yeah, because I don't make titty milk. But like drinking cum as like a last ditch effort to not starve to death. Nah, man, I'm gonna go out with more self-respect than that. Right? Titty milk is one thing because you don't have to be starving and it's fun and stuff. And just squirts me with it. Right? She'll be like feeding the baby. And she'll be like, come close. I want to tell you a secret. And then she'll fucking shoot me in the eye with it. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Like, that's not even like respectful. I understand. I know it's funny. I can see it's funny, but me being on this side, it's like, what the but it is funny, right? But you, like, what the fuck? You don't just squirt me with your boob.
I felt that that was really my calling. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to protect those places.
It is funny. I'm not saying it wasn't funny.
It's really challenging.
I just wish I wasn't, you know.
Somebody wins and somebody loses. And if you don't win, you know, the implication is that a special...
Critical Thought says, I saw a documentary where priests convinced this woman that she could only rid her evil spirits by taking on their holy semen. Well, that woman is retarded. That's a stupid woman. So fair play? I don't know. If you're dumb enough, I don't know, man. If you're that stupid, I feel like you have it coming. I'm just saying. I know that seems like a monstrous thing to say. But you got to punish him somehow, right? If you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. So if she falls for the, like, oh, the holy semen thing, she's fallen for other things too, right? So you're saying my demons are going to leave if I just blow you? And they're like, yeah. They high five each other. What a stupid bitch. Damn, how stupid can you be? Like, okay, if you're crazy, you're crazy. But, like, there's a difference between crazy and stupid. There is. There really is.
Place is lost. Back in the 70s and 80s, we were harvesting billions of board feet every year off of the forests in Oregon and Washington alone. You can only do that for so long before the ecosystem starts to give out. And that's exactly what started to happen. It wasn't sustainable.
Once the scientists started detecting changes in wildlife populations, including the spotted owl, people kind of...
Background noise says, my demons too, we're getting the evil out. I mean, yeah, God, it always comes back to this, doesn't it? No wonder people think we're a fucking sex cult. I'm trying to, like, deliver knowledge, like old school TLC, like real old, back when TLC was the learning channel. I'm trying to impart knowledge onto you guys in a way to better your lives. And it always comes back to drinking cum and putting guns in your mouth and, like, offing yourself and shooting titty milk at each other and shit. Dude, it's not even... No wonder people think we're a sex cult. Because it always comes back to me having my nipples out, or it's just every single time. And I guess I roll with it. I just lean into it. Should I just lean into it? Should I even be wearing these stupid shirts when I come on? Or should I just be blasted in both nips? Right? Just shirtless? I'm not gonna, because I actually don't really like being shirtless. I'm not going to. Somebody give me $20 and I'll do it.
Put two and two together and realize that
$20 is $20. What can I say? What can I say?
Extinction of species.
$20 is $20.
That drove environmentalists to act.
The trust that the agency lost, the public trust, was substantial, and they're still trying to come back.
No, I didn't say that, Arden
So
Share.
when the agency said,
I didn't say I didn't like being objectified.
It's like, no, I don't trust you. I remember logging without
I just want to be the right
loss.
kind of object. You know?
Just like the Amazon, you know, once you cut it down to a level, it's gone.
I spent 18 years in the sawmill business, and they're toying with my life.
Over time, as we learn more about these forests, and as Congress learned more about these forests, the tide turned. Too much was being lost in this
Look at the size of that saw.
pursuit of converting.
Look at the size of these trees. These are old growth sequoias. The lumber from these trees must be worth a fortune. I mean, not back then, but today, you like get a dining room table made out of this, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. But you're not allowed to harvest these anymore. These are all protected trees. You can't harvest these. They get huge though. They're like wider than most people's houses. Like, if you've never been to the giant sequoias, you should absolutely go. You can drive a car through them. There's one you can drive a car through. They're huge. Huge. Like, you wouldn't think, like, trees can get that big. They can get that big.
National forest to timber farms.
Bill Clinton directed that a team be assembled to facilitate an economic transition away from large amounts of old-growth logging toward a community economy that could be sustained at a lower level of logging. And then that became the Northwest Forest Plan, which designated a series of large, protected, mostly old-growth areas across the Cascade Mountain.
I just got a freeze warning. In Florida, it's going to freeze tonight. I thought we were below the freeze line. We are. We are below the freeze line. Weird. Apparently weird.
Range and west in Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. And that sort of set off dominoes across the national forest system. Harvest on the national forests fell by an order of magnitude in just a few years.
A lot of California towns look like this, too. Like, there's the glitzy, glamorous San Francisco and, like, the Bay Area cities and stuff, and Los Angeles and stuff. But you go to, like, the Sierra Nevadas or anywhere north of those places, you're going to get little gold mining towns, which are actually charming, right? A lot of them are made out of stone. They're very old. And, yeah, they're old gold mining towns.
Well, we come here in 1945. Cool. And then in 65, I quit the Forest Service, partnered with my folks, and run the store. We had anywhere from 2 to 3 hired help that was on the floor with us at most times, and we run from about 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. When we locked the store down, this was the liquor store.
The liquor store.
In this section, we wrote game licenses. And I do miss the people that you used to do, because there was all kind of people. They were nice people, and they were interesting and whatever else. But the rigmarole you had to put up with the government, I don't miss that. They marked off that timber up there. And
Thought says I saw a thing recently too about Amazon deforestation, and the fuckers doing it barely even make any money off precious metals or lumber they get. So the Amazon's getting deforested for lumber and precious metals, but mostly it's for cattle farming. They just burn large sections so they can cattle farm, and when you burn the rainforest, the soil has to be in the rainforest for it to like stay alive. So it only recedes. It really doesn't come back. It'll come back, but after centuries or something like that. But people are burning it down so they can make money off of cattle and stuff. And so people are trying to stop them from doing this, and they're dying, right? There's like a war going on between the cattle farmers and the people, like the eco-terrorists that are trying to stop them from deforesting the Amazon. But these farmers are trying to feed their families. So one side is trying to save trees and the other side is trying to save their kids. So people gonna die. People gonna die. You're not gonna stop that with a plea of, oh, what about the monkeys and stuff like that. They don't give a shit about the monkeys. They don't give a shit. And besides, the Amazon is huge. The Amazon rainforest is enormous, like enormous. Yeah, they are cutting down huge patches of it, but there's still plenty of it left. There's still quite a bit of it left. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? People are going to continue expanding into the Amazon. There's nothing you can do. you can kill all the people off. Yeah, you can kill all the people off.
That's old growth timber.
If that's what you want to
log
do.
it, you can't do anything with it, and it's old growth. When the sawmills quit out and the logging quit, then I couldn't make enough money to pay hired help. So that lost a lot of population. Then they shut the Forest Service down. That lost some more population. And so we're down to probably, 60, 80 people. I don't know what the logic is, but basically it's
Randy Crush says, yeah, I played Cruising USA too. That was a good game.
government.
That was a good game.
Government logic.
Hi, Brenda. Hi, Brett. How's clerking going?
It's going well.
My name is Mark Webb. I'm currently executive.
Thought says if they had a fucking brain, though, they could make it like a tourist destination and make a fuck ton of money because from a capitalistic perspective, they aren't really benefiting at a sensible ratio. So, no, they can't. Some people do make, like Costa Rica. Costa Rica is basically entirely run by tourism, and so they don't have to rely on agriculture at all. In the Amazon, in like Brazil and stuff, there's a shitload of Amazon. There's a lot of Amazon, and there's a lot of people. And yeah, sure, there's a tourism industry, and I'm sure it's booming, and it's quite robust. However, there's only so many tourists. There's only so many tourists. There's only so much money, and there's only so much food, right? So if you cannot break into the tourism industry, which would be hard, especially if you have zero money, then you're going to have to rely on basic farming and like agriculture, ranching and stuff like that. And if you have a plot of land, you're going to burn that shit down, right? That's all I'm saying. You're just going to burn it down because you don't give a fuck about the rainforest. It doesn't do you any good. You're not going to get any tourists. You're not going to put them in special bungalows, and you're not going to have like restaurants nearby or anything like that. Tourism requires infrastructure, quite a bit of infrastructure. There has to be an airplane, an airport. There has to be a car to wherever you are. There has to be a hotel. There has to be places to eat, places to shop. It's not just, hey, let's go out to the middle of this buttfuck nowhere town and then look at the jungle, because that sounds unsafe and unappealing. So no, you can't just turn any spot in the world or even in the jungle into a tourist spot. It needs more than that. It needs money. It needs people to want to go there. And for people to want to go there, they have to think they're not going to get murdered, and they have to think they're going to have a good time. So it's not as easy as that. You know,
Executive Director for Blue Mountains Forest Partners. Before that, I was Grant County Judge for one term, 6 years. I do remember one time Commissioner Britton and I were at a meeting with State Fire Marshal and some other folks out of Monument, and I was...
Onias says the rainforest soil is super unrich in fertilizer. The Aztecs created farms by converting the soil into terra preta over the course of hundreds of years. The thing is, the forest, the soil in the rainforest is extremely rich in nutrients. However, when you farm, you extract all those nutrients pretty quick. And after about 3 or 4 years, the life of that soil is over. Farmers used to go on sabbaticals, which every 7 years they would let a field go fallow. And, then it would take 20 or 30 years for that field to come back and be fertile enough again to grow crops, right? And so a lot of times they would rotate. They would have a large patch of land and they would rotate acre by acre over the years. They don't do that in the rainforest. When their land goes fallow and they can't properly produce vegetables or something like that, they just burn down another couple acres right? And all the ash from that is also very nutritious and then they just grow stuff there. They don't wait for the other to grow back because it kind of can't, right? It becomes super unfertile, right? So not even the jungle can come back. So then you just have this move into the jungle that is pushed by agriculture that leaves kind of a desert behind. It's not that they're incapable of what is the word I'm trying to say? Putting nutrients back in the soil. It's that they don't give a shit enough. It's more profitable for them just to burn down a few acres of jungle, grow for a few years there, and then move on. So that's what's causing a lot of the issue.
I was new to office then, and State Fire Marshal had misled me on something, and I went over the desk to get him. And Commissioner Britton pulled me down. So that's probably what I remember most. I was ready for something.
Zip lines and zip lines are fun.
For collaborative involvement.
I've been on a lot of zip lines. I've been to Costa Rica. I've done zip lines. They're fun. They're cool. I want to put up some zip lines in my yard. I actually just took down a bunch of trees in my yard too. And I'm stoked about it. Now I got a bunch more land I can play with.
Our environmental community really didn't appreciate what we were trying to do.
I want to put down some grass.
County, or our respect from the landscape, and there was a lot of animosity or distrust.
Well, I was skeptical that there was compromise possible.
Shut up. You're annoying. You're annoying. I don't know you, but you're annoying and your husband hates you.
East Side timber sale work when I was still in law school.
Was that mean?
As long as I could remember, there had been at least 3 mills going here. Prairie Wood Products, Grant Western, and Malheur Lumber. And both Grant Western and Malheur Lumber were big log mills, so they took old growth.
I'd done a bunch of litigation. We'd shut down the Malheur's timber program, so there really just wasn't anything happening. And that worked fine for me.
There we go. Hit the like button if you have not already.
When you shut down an industry, and it's about the only industry that provides a livelihood here, you're pretty upset, and it's hard to talk.
Yeah, you get
murdered.
Murdered.
It was very challenging, my first trip to Grant County.
A lot of these eco-tourists and stuff, or not just eco-tourists, like eco-terrorists, more of. These people who, like, bomb pipelines and, like, shut down cattle farmers and, like, stop agriculture and stuff like that. They think they're doing a good thing. And, I mean, it could be argued that they are. But they don't fully absorb that they are killing people by doing this. Killing probably up to hundreds of people, entire families. They're throwing into destitution and poverty, and maybe they just don't think about it. Maybe they know, but they just don't think about it. Regardless, these families do what it takes to defend themselves, and if that requires killing these people, that's what they're going to do, and it has happened. The eco-terrorists or these eco-warriors have been kidnapped. Sometimes they get returned to their families after like a ransom or something like that. But a lot of times they're just fucking killed because they're getting in the way, right? And if your family's starving and you have one way of feeding them, and then some gringo, some dirty, smelly hippie comes off of a bus and says, hey, man, I'm going to chain myself to this tree so you can't feed your family. You're going to be like, well, I'm going to cut you in half too. You're chained to a tree. You think I give a shit if I kill you too? No. You're operating on a sense of like Western morality that I just do not share as an Amazonian. Hypothetically, I'm not an Amazonian, but you know what I'm saying, right? People think that since they're from America and Americans treat each other with a certain level of respect for life, that it must be like that all over the world. It is not. It is not whatsoever. No, they will fucking kill you. Right? This is so stupid. Like when that Eat, Pray, Love book came out, and then all these white bitches read it, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to India. I'm gonna go to South Central Asia, and I'm gonna explore and be free and stuff like that. I'm gonna go travel the world alone, and I'll be totally fine." I'm like, "You're stupid. You're stupid. You're gonna get raped. You're gonna get robbed. You're gonna get killed." And it happens all the time. And it happens all the fucking time. Right? These bitches think that they, it's so naive. It's so naive to think that because, especially American women, women in the West in general, they think they're going to be treated a certain way because that's how they're treated at home, right? In America, we let women get away with everything. Literally everything. And it's like a lot of them can do no wrong. That's why they get like shit house drunk and then take a swing at a cop. And like, they're all like, "Oh, you're going to go downtown, but then we're going to let you go." And, with a slap on the wrist at best. It ain't like that. It ain't like that. No, you go to Central America and if you even get a little bit too drunk, you're getting raped by a gang of dudes, right? If you go down the wrong alley, you are going to be a skin suit, bitch. And you can't explain this to them. No, because they read Eat, Pray, Love. And they wanted that romance and adventure and stuff like that. And, reality is not going to get in the way of that. They have daddy's credit card. Good luck, ho. Good luck. Good luck. Never, ever do that. Being a man and traveling on your own is one thing, right? Because men don't have things that... we have money, I guess. And if we get robbed for our money, which will happen probably. But then they're going to have to fight another guy for that, right? And a lot of people in like Southeast Asia, you can take them. They're not that big, right? You can take a bunch of them. But they will attack you in a pack. But if you're a woman, you don't have the ability to defend yourself. You're not allowed to carry a gun. Men aren't allowed to carry a gun. You're not allowed to carry guns. All right? You have no chance. You just have no fucking chance. Right? You can check into a hotel, and then some guy saw you check into a hotel, and he's like, "I'm going to go rape that bitch." A little later, I'm going to get drunk. I'm going to kick down that door, and then she's going to scream. Nothing's going to happen. No one's going to come help her. And she doesn't realize that. Don't travel alone if you're a woman. Don't do that. Please, please, please don't do that.
I brought somebody with me.
Please don't do that.
Because I wasn't sure that my safety was assured.
I didn't meet Susan Jane until a former county commissioner that I served with, Boyd Britton, had a federal lawsuit. And as Boyd would do, he wanted to know who was shutting us down. Somebody pointed him to Susan Jane, and he went over and asked if we couldn't do things differently, essentially, and invited her out.
I met Mark Webb for the first time in 2004, maybe. Well, I know what Mark thought of me. Mark thought I had horns and a tail. That's what Mark thought. I was a lawyer, and I'm a liberal female from Portland coming into his community to tell him.
I knew it. Like, I knew she was a bitch before she even said all those things, that she's like a liberal lawyer from Portland. But I got the sense on her, right? Is that magic? Do I have that magic? I believe I have some of that magic. Yeah, we could tell you're a bitch. We could just tell. We could just tell you're a nightmare, and you grew up spoiled. And now you have some simp of a husband that you boss around, and you don't love him, but whatever, he's a man, and you have to maintain appearances and stuff, and you have kids and stuff, and they hate you too. But whatever, you're a hotshot liberal lawyer, and blah, 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 blah. God, what she needs is a good fresh slap. That's what she needs. She needs a man that actually has some sort of muscle tone, right? Because if you go to these cities, it's amazing how the men look like young boys. You have no muscle development. You're 35 something years old and you built no muscle over your lifetime. What do you do? Not go to the gym, clearly. It looks strange. It just looks strange when you have no muscle tone, and you see it on like the movies and the shows now. We just got done watching this show Preacher, and the titular character, Preacher, is like 110 pounds, right? No muscle mass, none. Like the leading cast, the supporting characters, the toughest one is a girl that might be 85 pounds. I don't know. Why are people afraid of muscles? Why are people afraid of masculinity now? Why are they trying to like tamp that down as much as possible? Oh, because we're under control. That's why. And they don't want people fucking, I guess.
What to do. You know, the impetus for being out there was a bad fire season in 2002. We had a lot of big fires in Oregon.
These are fire tornadoes. You see these? When they twist up like that, those are fire tornadoes.
Occurrences were becoming more and more common.
Right there. You see?
Whereas every,
that's a fire tornado.
So, you'd have a bad fire year. It was now every 4 or 5 years, and then it was every 2 or 3 years, and now it's pretty much every year.
That the only reason industry and then
there's no way. I just okay. I know, like, I understand the conditions in California, and I know fires can happen for no reason. But I just don't believe that a lot of these fires are accidental. I mean, a lot of fires happen from lightning strikes, right? But in certain situations, there has been wildfires in California where 6 or 7 separate fires have started at the same time across a state or across a city, and it just closes in. And the chances of that happening are, I'm not going to say astronomical, but not good. Not good, right? A bunch of fires started at the same time, like the same moment across the city or across the state. It doesn't make sense. I think it probably is some sort of, I mean, it could be space lasers, right? Or it could just be operatives that go out and start fires across the city or something like that. Who that might be, it depends on who makes the most money off of it. A lot of people want to clear out real estate, burn a town down and then buy it up on the cheap and stuff. So corporations or government or something like that. All I'm saying is, I don't know who would be doing it, but there are reasons for it to be done, and I know it has to have been done, right? Not all of these fires are accidents. A lot of fires, the fire department is told to like stand down and stuff, and it's just so you want it to burn.
Environmental community came together at all is because neither had an option anymore.
Hey, Donatello.
SK and others had essentially shut down the logging industry, and they were desperate for wood, and they were willing to take anything they could get as long as they got some more wood.
Hey, Dan Snot.
Fortunately for us, the environmental community was also coming to appreciate that. While they might have saved the old-growth trees from the timber.
Background Fire says, my grandma told me that one time after a thunderstorm, she saw a rabbit on fire running through her forested backyard. I don't think that's true, but that's pretty funny. But that can't be true. I think that's your grandma making tall tales, but I want it to be true.
Industry,
I
they
do.
were beginning to lose them increasingly to
not for the rabbit,
catastrophic
but just for
wildfires,
my sense
fires
of
that would have
humor.
been unnatural in the
My
landscape
dark
in
sense
the
of
past.
humor.
And so they were confronted with the challenge of having to address that through active management, which they've been spending a lot of time shutting down.
Hey, JD, did you just get here?
This problem
No,
is
you didn't just get here.
not abstract. There are a few
Say
places
more.
where people have taken aggressive action to reduce the fuels around their homes and around communities, and those places are definitely...
Yeah, you got to make a fire break, right? But even big fire breaks, remember these these fires can jump highways, right? I mean, 8-lane highways. So how much of a fire break can you possibly give your house? You can't. I mean, you just reasonably you can't. You can give it enough. You can, but some of these fires are intense, man. Like intense. Like you might be a mile away and feel an intense heat from that fire. I don't know how to properly convey to you how big and catastrophic these fires are, because until you've actually seen one or like been near one or like, you know, been at least reasonably close to one, they are forces of nature, right? It is a force of nature. It's not something you should even realistically try to fight. When they say they've contained a fire, it's not that they're trying to fight the fire itself. It's that they're trying to burn off all the fuel that fire might be able to get to. So they're just going to make a circle around it, right? They're going to make a circle around it, and everything in that circle is dead. It's gone, right? It's not, they can't fight the fire themselves. They can fly planes over and stuff, and that does something. But the size is just too immense.
Much better off. But at the larger scale, the
Dan Snot says, I remember watching the Laguna fires from my roof. That's cool.
fuel buildup continues. The climate continues to worsen, making it warm.
JD Grubb says we have a lot of accidental fires at our piers. You have a lot of immigrants at your piers. That's what's going on. Let's not pretend. Right. Remember when the Notre Dame, the cathedral in Paris, remember when that burned down? It just so happened to burn down, and all the churches, there's been a lot of like Christian churches that have been burning all across Europe, and let's not pretend that this is just a coincidence. This is Muslims coming in and burning down churches. All right. It's very clear. But the media doesn't want you to think that. They want you to think, oh, these Muslim neighbors are here to help. They're not. No, they're not here to help. They're not here to help. No, they're burning down churches and raping and stabbing people. Just lay that out. All right? That's what's happening. Okay? Sorry, the cat.
Warmer, lowering relative humidities, perhaps even causing changes in wind patterns and precipitation. And now we have more extreme fire weather when we get it. The problem that we have in the U.S. right now is that we put out every fire that we can, so we only get fire behavior associated with fires we can't put out.
Interrupted
that means
me.
That the majority of the fire that we get is
hit the like button. 50 of you. Hit the like button. I want 50 likes.
In a way that we don't want. And then more and more people are living in the wildland-urban interface, the place where wildland fuels come in contact.
JD Grab says, I came in late. I was clearing snow off my driveway and satellite dish. You're in England, right? Where at in England are you? Does it? I mean, it must snow in London. Where are you?
With homes.
Forest Mommy says, hit the goddamn like button. She says it with the capital A. Yeah.
And so
capitalized.
More people.
So that means
in
she's
harm's
serious,
way,
guys.
And the harm is getting worse.
My dad's family's been here since the 1850s.
Dan Snow says, how can hell be any worse than California? Yeah, dude. I don't know. I'm sure hell is bad, but like California is like real bad, dude. but not for everybody. California is wonderful if you are insanely rich. It's a playground for the rich where they can just run around and bang anything they want, and they basically live as kings amongst a sea of paupers, right? And paupers, I mean poor people. There's either disgusting wealth or absolute, like, treacherous poverty, like debilitating poverty, where there's no middle ground. There's no middle class in California. The middle class, the people who would have been considered middle class, have left for good reason. For good reason, because they made the state unlivable. Just unlivable. And these forest fires are a symptom of that. They're not a cause. They're a symptom.
So his father, grandfather, grandmother, great.
You live in Sussex, an hour from London. Okay. I was thinking you left a little bit further north, but...
Grandmother. They're all raised up here. This is what the house looked like.
I've been to London a few times.
My mother passed away a couple months ago, so I'm kind of glad that she's not here to see what happened. But
hey, Tweety.
Yeah.
There's a dog. Beware the dog, and it's all burnt to shit.
Been less than a month since.
Imagine growing up, or not growing up, but like you buy a house, right? And it's in the forest, and you live there for decades. And it's beautiful. And then one day a fire just comes through and just destroys everything. It's got to be depressing.
This area burned.
Because even if it doesn't burn your house down, right? It burns your land to shit. Those trees aren't coming back. They're going to come back in 30 years, something like that. But then you just have to live on a patch for 30 years. And your property value isn't that great. And then some bank comes through, or some real estate company comes through, and then offers you pennies on the dollar for what you paid for it. And then you're just like, fuck it. There could be another fire or something. And so you sell. This is why I don't think that cat. This is why I don't think these fires are accidental 100% of the time. Hold on.
There's green leaves popping out all through the canopy of this forest. These trees are going to survive. They're going to be fine. So it's a fire-adapted ecosystem, for sure. It's the houses that were not very fire-adapted, unfortunately.
Please.
Issues of community wildfire safety and forest ecosystem health led to the desire to do field treatment work. And so we've spent the last 25 years or so trying to work.
Tweety Logic says, I'm cooking bacon, hash browns, and toast for dinner. Kick ass. Breakfast for dinner is, you can do it once, but never again after that.
Through that. And progress is definitely.
I don't know. I can't eat breakfast for dinner. I can't eat breakfast food at dinner time because then it'll throw off my circadian rhythm. I'm really sorry about that, cat.
Been made, but there's still work ahead of us.
Yeah, Jess is nursing a baby. That's her excuse. Whenever something is like, oh, sorry, I'm nursing our son. And I'm all like, that's no excuse. Get up and make me a quesadilla. All right? I've asked twice already, and I'm busy fighting celebrities on Twitter. Okay? Royce talked to me about that. Did anybody see me fighting Alan, the grandma's boy guy? Royce was all like, why you gotta do that when I'm trying to get him on the show? I was all like, I just jumped on the bandwagon, and then it became all about me, and I couldn't stop. And also, I was throwing hot fire. Let's be honest. He had nothing. He had nothing. As a professional comedian, like, dude, you're batting out of your league. Honestly, I know you do movies and shit like that, but come on, Twitter is a different realm. It's not for you. I couldn't. But he's like, can you just like not? And I'm like, I was like, no, I'm gonna.
The car fire.
Can't do anything.
And the cumulative impacts of fires over the last, decade of my living here in this really active fire environment, where you deal with this acute stress every summer and it persists over months is, it's hard to live with. I just sort of back up.
Dan Snow says, I don't hate Alan Covert, but he was wrong for picking on Lean and Mean. I didn't even know what the whole thing was about. I just saw Lean and I think like Avon and a couple other people going after Alan Covert, and I had nothing going on. So I was just like, hey, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon too. I don't know who Alan Covert is. And it wasn't until like I was like pretty well into it, then I was like, oh, this guy's like famous. And then I wasn't about to stop then because I was winning. And I thrashed him. I thrashed that guy. It was like not even
problem,
fair.
Right? We created it over generations, and so it's going to take generations to fix it. My job in my lifetime is to make an increment of progress towards something better.
You'll drive through California and you'll see forests like this that had just burned to shit, right? Where you'll be in a lush kind of like temperate forest, and then you'll just hit patches like this where it's just like, damn. Like, damn. This is me going through the car. And, like, you guys are the forest, so it's like this. Damn. Yeah, so it's like that. It's devastating.
The Watershed Center, is an organization like many other community-based organizations that were born out of the timber wars.
I don't hate Alan Covert either. I was just being a troll. I have no specific beef with him. I don't even know what him and Lean were talking about. Israel or some shit like that. I don't know. I didn't really focus on that topic too much. I was just throwing jabs, and if somebody needs me to fight on their side via Twitter, hit me up, right? I am a baby rattlesnake with too much venom, and I have to inject it into someone. So go ahead, hit me on X, tag me in the fight. I'll jump in. I don't give a shit who's right and who's wrong. All right, I'll be on your side. There you go. I'm a Twitter mercenary.
Give
me a call.
Work with an idea that we could find this elegant solution that linked
and hit the like
economic
button.
Development with land stewardship. So we were raising money to run crews that are doing, thinning.
Smash that like button. Does that work? Is it better when I say it like a douchey YouTuber?
We were getting cooperative agreements to do prescribed fire work in and around our communities, and so hearing Melanie talk to me about what she's doing after the wine country fires last year, and we're already talking about
JD says, don't go back to London. Some 14-year-old got stabbed on the bus in Woolwich. Absolute shithole. I bought weed off Jamaicans in London. I felt that was very English. They didn't stab me. And the weed was decent. Honestly, when you buy weed as a tourist, it's a gamble. Because I bought weed in Italy too, and it was garbage. It was just trash. I was in Rome but in London I got good weed. So I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. I have no need to go back to London. I think I just don't care. It was a fine city. I don't want to go back to Paris either. I mean, Paris is fine, but it's just, I don't like cities, man. I don't like cities, right? It's just not for me. The countryside is lovely, right? Like Tuscany and stuff, gorgeous. Pompeii. I hiked to the top of Mount Vesuvius, and I looked down on Pompeii, and it was absolutely magical. Great. And Rome was okay. Paris and London didn't do it for me.
Ideas about how we're going to work together because we're doing this innovative prescribed fire work, and now people in Sonoma.
Dan Snot comes with the hot facts and says Jamaicans aren't Africans. Okay.
kind of want to do that same work. I've got something to share.
They were definitely Jamaicans. All right. I'm not saying they were Africans. I'm saying they were fucking Jamaicans. Hey man, they had Jamaican accents. They were Jamaicans, dude. I know the fucking difference. I know what an African sounds like. I wish I didn't, but I do. I know what a Jamaican sounds like.
This one here is a
These were
example.
Jamaicans.
This is a trailer blowout as well. And so here you go. It starts racing on a west wind, right? Communities here, as high school, we're like here. But this isn't just a fuel treatment save the day.
Yeah.
You know, fire suppression still matters, preparedness, all those things, right? But this fire blows out, runs across town, looks like it's going to be this conflagration, runs head on into this prescribed fire treatment, less than a year old.
Alan Covert muted couch turfing just by association. Why? You were nice to him. You didn't say anything mean. He was trying to say stuff like I didn't have anything, and I was all like, oh yeah, what about my beautiful family? Oh, and I'm not a neckbeard because look at these 6-pack abs. Oh, no, my life kicks ass, and you're sitting in your fucking backyard smoking weed alone. I'm not saying I'm unbullyable, but my life is pretty cool, so it's pretty hard to find something to make fun of me for. That's all I'm saying.
And
all right?
That's
all I'm saying.
It literally cannot burn through that. And so it flanks, it lays down, they pick it up. Look,
Cash Surfing says, I want to go to Colorado. I've never been. We can go to Colorado. We could do that. That's definitely possible. I don't see why not.
Are in this place.
Yeah.
Makes the difference.
That's a great story.
And if we can start reinforcing that with
look at that. Fucking finally.
Staggered polygons.
Okay, hold on. Let me dust off this bell. Oh, there we go. Oh, yep. Yeah, you just rings. Wow. Like old times. Dan Snot for $5 says, I feel like this is an appropriate song to end this stream with. But I have my own song. Okay, fine. You were the only one who donated, so I'll do that song. All right.
You know, that actually
I'll pop it up here.
Come tell that story in Sonoma County.
Happily.
This fuel complex that we're standing in the middle of is kind of the classic Western problem of a relatively open, high fire.
Thank you for the donation,
forest
Snot.
that's now.
I was gonna be like, no one wants to donate. No, I don't even get ads, you guys. Do I get ads? I don't think I get ads. Let me see if I have anything available. No. Well, see, I do have stuff available, but I'll make like $1 off of it, and that's not worth your time or my time. And so, no, I'm not going to do that. My channel's not big enough for me to really rely on ads. Royce makes plenty on ads, so it really doesn't matter if you donate to him. But although donate to him, I don't want to get in trouble for like stopping his donation. But he makes a lot on ads. I don't make anything on ads. So I rely on the donations.
And left fire free for decades.
Hey, Starving Artist.
And you can see
he's
the
coming
result.
back. He was all like, you better impress me. This is my first time here. Well, you're back now.
That's now.
You're a little late, though.
Second growth Douglas fir. So there are a lot of factors that have all kind of come together at the same time. Historical logging, grazing, and fire suppression allowed all these seed.
Forest Moment says, and your wife has a hot surfer dad.
That had gotten established to grow up into the forest that has now gotten much more complex.
It's a 60-year-old man.
Big trees and small trees.
He's a 60-year-old man. He's in great shape. I'm not gonna lie. He's in great shape for his age. I mean, he's obsessive about it, and you know he surfs every day. He's in great shape. He's a 60-year-old man.
And dead fuels that can carry a surface fire.
Oh, we can stay, honey. We can stay at the forest house. we can stay at the Forest House. That's actually an honor because I bet it's sick. I bet it's sick.
All the way up into the canopy.
You guys are welcome at the Sulk
residence
residence as well.
If we can just
we have our own Sulk residence, and we also live out. We live in a jungle though, so it's not. It's like a forest, only wetter.
marshal the resources to get the work done. This is not an intractable problem.
Yeah, Paris is full of. Paris okay, Paris and London are both full of gross fucking people. Like, I think Paris is worse off than London is. But last time I was in London was like 2014, something like that. So it's been a while. Like, that's like 10 years ago. So it's probably gotten a lot worse since then. But when I was in Paris, which was maybe a few years before that, there was a lot of black people in Paris. There's a lot of black people.
Maple bars.
3 maple bars?
And 3 chocolate-covered cake donuts.
Okay, sounds good.
In a box for us?
Yeah.
This guy's getting donuts. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I miss I wish we had a good donut shop around us. Not like a fancy, ooh, look how creative, and there's like Kit Kat bars and sprinkles, and we put an ice cream cone on top, and it's like this big, and you can only eat one donut because it's like 5,000 calories. No, I want to go to like a good old fashioned donuttery where I can get a dozen donuts, and they're normal donuts. Where they're good quality donuts. I miss doing that. I hate fancy donuts. Quit jazzing up my donuts. I'm sick of it. Right? Not everything has to be a bunch of over the top showmanship, okay? Sometimes people just want a fucking cupcake or a donut that it doesn't have. Oh, this is a themed blueberry donut and it has cereal on top. Look at that. Get the fuck out of here. I want a bear claw. Give me one of those maple bars. Ah, that's what I'll do. I'll do it all. Oh, shit. Look at that. It's my screaming. Here, let me dust off the bell again. Come on, Bell. Come on, Bell. Come on, Bell. There we go. There we go. Good bell. Good bell. Social Observer with $20. Thank you, Social Observer. I appreciate that. I want to see Forest Mommy and Forest Daddy have sex. I should have read that before I read that out loud. I would have read it anyway because he gave $20, but I don't know. I don't want to be that guy where I'm like hooking up people in the chat. This is a fucking sex cult. You know what? Whatever. Fuck this noise. Guys, we're done. We're done. I've had enough. This is over. The whole thing is over. And this is the song that Dan's not wanting me to play, and that's what I'm playing. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's evening. Hit the like bell. Hit the like button. Hit it right now. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to me. Subscribe to me. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to me. Share this. Comment on it. Do something to make the algorithm like me, right? I'm trying to get people to like me here. It's been a problem in my life. People find me cold and calculating. And I'm like, no, I'm just silent and retarded. Thanks so much for coming. I hope you guys have a great evening. I hope you power up and become the best cult members you could possibly be. Get out there and make me proud. Be beautiful and be strong. I will see you guys tomorrow on Daywave and then right back here on the Sulk stream. Until then, like I said, be strong, be capable, be handsome, be kind. Get a good night's sleep. Drink lots of water. And take care of yourselves, because I care about you too. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. I love you. Goodbye.